Welcome to the Washdown podcast, episode number 88. Tonight we have a special episode. We got a special guest and a guest host. The guest host is my wife, Rachel, and our guest is Lauren Feringa. Lauren was an Army combat medic for 14 years and is the founder of Hippie and a Veteran, which is a 501c3 and is dedicated to spreading awareness and speaking out against systems that limit access to alternative PTSD treatments for veterans. They are doing great work over there, and we had a really great conversation with Lauren. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as we did making it. So, here you go. Episode 88 of the Washdown podcast with special guest Lauren Feringa from Hippie and a Veteran.
Cool.
I like how it tells you, but then it doesn't actually start for like another 3 seconds or so. See, like now it says it's recording now.
That's funny.
Well, so we were doing one the other day with firefighter Fenton, me and my buddy James, who normally does this with me. And James, I hit the start button and James he's talking away and it cuts off like the first 10 seconds of the conversation. So I'm like, dude, you got to wait.
Yeah, that's
Just
delayed.
No. That's frustrating.
Yeah.
The delay of the internet. It's not as fast as we'd hoped.
Yeah. Well, just technology in general, So,
Yeah.
But anyway, Lauren, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Rachel, thanks for being here.
Thanks for letting me be on.
I don't think I had a choice.
I know. I wanted to be on with Lauren.
She's like, oh, you're going to get her on the show? Great. I'm going to be there.
I'm like, yes, please. It worked out.
Perfect.
Yeah. I was like, well, let's make this work for everybody's schedule. So we got it going. So thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Cool. Let's just jump right in. Why don't you tell us where you're from and we'll go from there.
Yeah, well, I'm originally actually from California, but during high school, my mom moved out to Kansas. So I went to Shawnee Mission West, and my home for me is two different places. But I now live in the Pacific Northwest in Washington State.
Oh, cool. Yeah, here it's beautiful up there.
It really is. We actually just got some rain today that we've been like waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks. So, but it's like picturesque. Looks like Disney outside.
What temperature is it there?
Maybe in the 70s.
Oh, nice.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like cool. We got a nice cool breeze going on today. So y'all have to come out sometime.
I know.
Visit the forest.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to hike up there. I want to see the outdoors up there.
Oh, yeah. If you do, please let me know. I would love to go hiking with you.
Fantastic.
You can come out, check out our forest.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would love to.
Yeah, it's on the list of places to visit. So
yeah,
I'm kind of into the off-roading jeeping thing. So, and I hear you guys have some pretty cool trails up there.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't know much about jeeping, but I have a lot of buddies that have jeeps.
Well, then there you go.
Yeah, no, I want to see this off-road jeeping though. I've never seen. I want to go try this. That sounds cool.
It's awesome. It's super relaxing. It doesn't get stressful at all ever.
Yeah.
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 Hear the sarcasm.
Yeah. As you're hanging sideways off of a mountain, then
yeah.
Or driving down a shelf road at night. Somebody gets a little excited about that.
Yeah. That I don't love. But for me, I love to get out there and then just get out so I can like walk around or like be out there while he's doing some stuff. Because for the most part, that you're going so slow, I can catch back up. So it gives me a chance to just kind of get out there. Because I like to get out of the Jeep. Not be in the Jeep all day.
Yeah.
But it gets you out places that you wouldn't normally get to, which is nice.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love adventuring.
Yeah.
So Lauren, first of all, could you pronounce your last name for everybody so we know we're getting it right?
Oh my God. Yes, my last name is Feringa.
Perfect.
So,
Okay, I wanted to make sure that I'm
yeah.
always pronouncing it right because that is how I
Yeah.
pronounce it to people, and I'm like, okay, I have
It's not
not
a
asked
common
her.
name.
Yeah.
It's my mom was adopted by a Dutch person, so it's a Dutch name, which is cool.
Is it?
But so it's like Feringa when
That's
you're
cool.
supposed to say it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Other people
yeah.
will always be like Feringa, and I'm like, no, it's Dutch, y'all. Deutsch. Sorry.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
So there's so, oh, I'm sorry. I feel
No,
like I'm
go ahead.
interrupting you.
No,
But
go
so
ahead.
there's so much I want to know. So when Lauren, I don't know how many years ago, it was at least a couple of years ago when we first met out at Andy's place at Challenge U.
yeah,
Um,
it was like 2020 or 2019, somewhere in between there.
yeah, yeah. It's like things blur up with COVID, but I
Yeah.
remember it was like COVID-ish time.
Yeah.
And so obviously, like you were the first person to tell me about the stellate ganglion block, and then you've been a fantastic resource for me and for my clients ever since then. So I was super excited that you were coming on tonight so that I could talk. And I wanted to, there's so many things that I'm curious about, and not just with your military history and stuff, but your own background. And then how you connect with like all of the alternative therapies. Cause I know you talk a little bit about kind of that background for you or maybe connection to heritage. And so I would love to hear more about that stuff too.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, I'm a big proponent clearly of stellate ganglion blocks for PTSD, and I'll go a lot more into that a little bit because I figure we'll have more questions about stellate ganglion blocks as we're talking.
Sure.
Those and plant therapies and natural medicines for treatments of mental health stuff. Just because I grew up, I mean, with my mom was always, if there's something natural out there, we try that first. Um, and I also grew up with migraines, so like I grew up with chronic pain as a kid. So I was also had a huge aversion to taking pharmaceuticals, even though I took them all the time. But that I was always mad about having to take them. Because I'm like a rebellious child. Like you don't want to have to depend on migraine medicine because it takes you out every couple days.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, I'll just break the ice. I mean, I had my first mushrooms when I was 17 years old, and I went into MEPS and went to the Army. And I knew
How did that
like
trip go for you?
hey, you know
Which
what?
one?
So it was like I was more like slowly coming down from the mushrooms. So it was more like I was in a really great. So I loved basic training. I was like the happiest person in the world the whole time because like it can give you a boost of serotonin for a period of time. I loved all of my training. I loved AIT. But I really loved being in the Army. So but sorry, now I'm like going off on a tangent about mushrooms.
It's totally okay.
What was I saying? Oh my God. So I get so nervous coming on a podcast and getting recorded.
No, you're good. Well, and so you had kind of just started to talk about the first time, well, you were talking about alternative like plant medicines or plant therapies and stuff, and then the first time
Oh,
that you tried it. And so I don't know if you want to go back to that or
yes.
jump into military experience. Okay.
More just like I grew up and had an understanding, was never afraid of using entheogens, which those kind of plant medicines fall into them. Like I knew and approached those things with great reverence. I mean, I am an indigenous person too, so the concept of taking mushrooms isn't, I don't know, it's not crazy to me. Like that's like, you want to do some internal work, be my guest. But so I grew up with that kind of understanding of plant medicines, which definitely informs how I approach medicine today. But in the military, I mean, I was just straight up pharmaceutical, just like any other medic. So I kind of have like the juxtaposition of the knowledge and also the perspective, because I think like they can both be fused. It's not like a either or. It's not just, I mean, first world medicine saves lives, and I mean,
Absolutely.
there's no doubt about that. But mixing in some other stuff that can knock out some things we don't really need all the time, that's kind of cool. But
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's something that I've kind of started to lean towards more myself too, because, you know, we see so many guys and girls on the fire department or police department, veterans or whatever, who are, you know, addicted to pain pills because of an injury. And, you know, there's just so many other ways to treat that pain without using those type of pharmaceuticals that,
there
you
really
know,
is.
we need those
Entheogens
alternatives.
can help with nerve pain. I'm actually having a friend come over today. She has some nerve issues too, and she's used psilocybin in microdose tiny amounts, non-tripping amounts, just for chronic pain, and like radiculopathy that she has into her arms and numbness because she has some um, paralyzed from like the waist down. So she has a lot of different stuff and pains that she deals with. And I heard her talk about it before, and I just absolutely loved the way it relieved pain. And I don't think people don't understand, like, that's what entheogens can do in a tiny little sprinkle, can really help with nerve pain because it calms down your nervous system. So for those of us with chronic pain, it can calm down those receptors that are like really overfiring when we're used to taking opiates.
Right. So how did you get on the activism track?
Well, when I went and got an SGB, and there was no other way that I could get it. I had to get it. I got it through the research department at the VA in Long Beach in California. Other than going there, which wasn't going to be an option for me because I needed to move home. I wanted to be with my mom. I knew I was going to go through some healing. I could feel it coming on after I got my SGB. I'm like, this is going to be some work, but like, you know, getting this relief means there's some work to do. And then I got there and I knew it. I knew I was not going to be able to get SGBs, but I was like, the reality is this thing changed my life. And I have a bunch of buddies that need this, and they're not, until like they can have access to it. I'm so sorry.
No,
Until
No,
they
you're
can
fine.
have, okay, sorry, someone tried to call me. Until they can have access to it, I mean, I need to figure out, because like they're going to ask me questions, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
why not? I'm going to go here. I'm going to have to figure it out. And I did. I figured out how to, for one, going through and screening providers that provide these and finding people that actually do them and the correct technique for PTSD. And then also trying to get VA approval, which is few in between, but it's going with community care referrals through the VA. But that was just really, really frustrating. I couldn't get this. And like they've tried to write laws about this. That doesn't work. So like legislation's not working, begging isn't working, and all we're asking is for a non-medicated treatment. We're begging for a shot in our neck instead of swallowing addictive pills, and they're telling us no. And that's bad medicine. That's not how I was trained. We want to give the patient the least amount of whatever in their bodies. And
Yeah.
so when, I mean, I can't get it. Also, I'm postpartum after I had a baby. Do not mess with a woman postpartum. Tell her she can't have stuff. And then I realized like there's all these other people that can't have it. I just mama bared out, and I've been going ever since.
Yeah.
Take that energy and make it useful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what do you lobby congressmen, or, I mean, like, what does that all entail? Because I'm kind of interested about that.
So, I mean, the biggest thing, so there are people writing and attempting with different legislation at different state levels. And then there was the federal bill that was up 2 years in a row. I've kind of like been really disheartened by politics lately. And especially when it comes to medical access, like, but, so I realize like if there's these other spaces, I can't jump onto these other people's marketing teams. I can't, do that, but I can do social media. And I was a marketing director for the National Guard. So for me, a big, huge thing of what I do is like I have to play the outrage game on the internet and slide in mental health stuff as best as I can, trying to find like the target audience of people that are also activists. So that's been, I mean, my main like route is like trying to get other therapists, doctors, activists, people that are helping people that have the reach, because there is over a dozen studies on SGBs for PTSD. There's no doubt that they work 75% better, or they work 75% of the time versus 35 to 50% of the time of pharmaceuticals that we have in the VA when it comes to their patient populations, and upwards of 95% in people that are actively ideating. And I also bet with like long-term care with SGBs, I mean, the numbers would be astounding if we actually had access to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you, so kind of assuming that people who might be listening don't know what the SGB is, and, you know, or like what it helps and treats. So like, if you wouldn't mind, like say a little bit more about what you were experiencing, how you gained access to it. And then when you talked about like doing it the appropriate way for treatment for PTSD, so people kind of understand that too, when they're seeking a doctor to have the SGB.
So a stellate ganglion block is just a shot, an ultrasound guided needle that goes into your stellate ganglion, which is on the side of your neck. It's just a chain of nerves connected to all the other chains of nerves in there, and it's just below the surface of the skin. It doesn't go past like, you know, any other anatomical features. It's just right below. So it's not as invasive as it seems. And it's crazy that it works so well. But the needle goes in and they use ropivacaine. And so this is the difference between an SGB just for chronic pain and an SGB for PTSD. So the ones that they do for chronic pain, they just put a little bit of numbing agent and a steroid, and they mix that in, and they put a little bit of that in your ganglion, in that ganglion. For PTSD, instead, they just use ropivacaine, which is a long-acting anesthetic, inside of this gland, and they'll do it in sometimes they'll do two levels, sometimes they just do one. It depends on the provider and what they feel comfortable with doing. And from my medic perspective, when they put that needle in, they are flooding that ganglion and ripping up the nerve connections that are inside of it. And they're numbing it as they do that. So your neck will be sore the next day, but it also heals back. And as it heals back, all those nerve endings aren't all connected in the same way that they were before. So some people need them more, and it's just because I don't know, I guess their stuff's that much stronger. I mean, I think PTSD really is the evolution and strength of our nervous systems. It's growing and becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. And this kind of helps us to like from Hulk and like, you know, unhulk out within our nervous system.
Yeah, I like it.
Kind of shrinking our nerves down.
I like
so
it.
I think,
yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
It
Yeah,
definitely
fantastic.
makes sense.
Thank you.
You go from Hulk to Dr. Banner and everything's all good.
Exactly.
So, but you did mention earlier that after you got the shot that you knew you had work to do, like therapy and all of that stuff. And I kind of do want to point out the importance of that, yeah, you know, it's a great shot and the benefits are phenomenal, but there's still work that has to be done.
Yeah, you're right. It's a tool. Like, just like, you know, plant medicine also, it's a tool. You know, mental health medications, they're a tool. Our therapists, they're, you know, people that can help us with tools and skills and, you know, organization within our mind. And so this, we can't ever just be depending on one thing. And like, that's not how we heal. We have all these different systems. The body keeps the score, right? So all this mental health stuff's not just in our head. So it's not just one area that we're like working on.
Right.
And it takes therapy, it takes intentional thought, and it really is work. But it's work that's worth it if you want to feel better. And the cool thing is, like with something like a SGB or using plant medicine, it can alleviate the fight or flight response, which when that fight or flight response is on, it's really hard to focus. It's hard to focus on the pain. Like how I don't know, how would you explain it?
Yeah, well, because that's been both personally and then what I see for my clients. I'm like, it makes the work so much easier, right? Because it's like, I always explain, because I work with horses, I always talk about like trigger stacking and stuff with animals. And, you know, but like if I have a horse in there who's already nervous and then I put it into a situation that's even more nerve wracking for it and it doesn't know what I'm asking it to do and it's all amped up, like that horse can't learn, right? Like it's all stressed out. It's just like, I want to get out of this situation. I can't learn in this situation. And for my, like so many of my clients who have had the SGB, they're like, oh, I can do the work. I can do the therapy. I can approach the traumas without being completely like feeling like I need to succumb to them or like I'm overwhelmed by them. Yeah, it just makes the work easier. And I think the reduction in some of the negative coping skills that they receive after the block too, it makes the work easier. Like it's just,
like, I
it
just
feels more
imagine like if
manageable.
we're like carrying something, right, and we're carrying it all the time, like you're going to be frustrated. Or if you're walking around with, you know, a thorn in your foot, as simple as that, like the lion with the thorn in his foot, like it's going to be grumpy. Like if that's on all the time and it's causing us pain because it causes literally all of our nerves in our body to clench up when we're stressed, like how there's no way we can calm down. So that's like you use some tools to calm that down so that you can learn how to control it again. And it's like learning my edges and learning how to take control of my nervous system again. That was the work, for sure.
And I feel like it's so validating that you know, because even as much as we know about trauma and how it does affect the body too, there's still a lot of people that hold on to it as like, oh, it should, like it's just this thing in my head, right? And I feel like things like the SGB are so validating that there's a physiological part of PTSD, right? There's a physical injury that's also happening to the nervous system, because otherwise the SGB is not going to work, right? Like you're not going to have that effect of calming the nervous system down too. And so I think it's so validating to be able to have that and then have that experience. And it gives a lot of hope too, that like, oh, okay, I can potentially feel better.
Yeah, the amount of times like patients are told like, oh, that, you know, that's in your head. Like they can't prove a pain you're feeling. And then they're just writing that off. And that's how the VA really treats patients with chronic pain. Like if I go and look at my disability rating and I look at my medical records, now knowing what I know, of course I have PTSD. Of course I have nerve damage. I have like, you know, a injury to my neck that just occurred while I was on deployment. I had radiculopathy into my arm. I get costochondritis, which is just nerve like bundled tension in your chest when I get really stressed. It's also the same bundle of pain when I run, which is, I think, also why running is so therapeutic, because it calms that bundle of nerves down. But there were just so many physiological signs that it's like, that's clearly what was happening to my body. Like I can map it out. And now I can ask people, I'm like, hey, how's your neck? You know, do you feel like you have to crack your neck all the time? Is your shoulder tight all the time? some people get radiculopathy into their hands and numbness and tingling. Like, you know, is your shoulder blade like up all the time? Do you feel like you're walking around with your shoulder to your ear? And it's like, oh yeah, because those are nerves that are all on fire, and we can calm them down.
Yeah.
And, you know, get down to business.
Yeah, it just
But
boggles.
it is validating.
It is.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it just boggles my mind that something that is that effective is that hard to get.
Why do you think that is?
I'll tell you, but it's not the nicest thing. So, first of all, we have a really big grip on pharmaceuticals at the VA, and in medicine, because that's what we've kind of targeted towards, and that's all of our understanding with mental health treatment. And for PTSD, they throw so much at us, and I mean, they make billions of dollars out of the VA on prime vendor contracts for pharmaceuticals. They're selling pharmaceuticals out of the VA on, I would rather some of that money go out to some providers in the community.
Yeah.
But I would assume that the powers to be don't really want to split 7.4 billion with a bunch of anesthesiologists in pain clinics. Because I mean, most people I work with at least limit down their pharmaceutical intake. I've worked and talked with many of the researchers that are doing this in psychedelic therapy, and they don't understand. They've done the research. It's already proven. The military's done the research. The VA has done. And when the other options are way less safe. And I mean, giving people with PTSD medications that are very addictive and in multiple quantities that are unapproved can do a very big reverse effect on our nervous systems, which is why it takes us, you know, weeks to get onto a medication, because we're training our nervous system to accept these medications. But I don't know, it's not, without sounding like a conspiracy crazy veteran. Like,
No,
it's money, it's profit.
Yeah.
It's profit.
Yeah.
I don't think you're wrong, because, you know, you look at a lot of things that we have treatment for, but no cure for. And
Yep.
there's no money if you cure somebody of a disease or something, then okay, well, that's all you're going to get out of them. But if you just treat the symptoms of the disease, then that's just a recurrent paycheck, is all that is. They're going to keep shelling out money. You keep charging them. It's just like you said, it's a big money making thing.
It is. And so, like, talking with the doctors that do this, like almost every single one I've talked to, I mean, I know they don't want to be the one to say it out loud, but they're like, a lot of the reason why people have difficulty healing after these is their dependency on medications. I had my own dependency issues and still had to work with that after I got my SGBs. And it was a lot of work, because that was the real deep-seated therapy that I needed to work on, in the way that I was consuming, you know, alcohol. And I had to address that very intentionally. But when you get SGBs and you're not finding your baseline, and then medicating from there, which is what should be happening, is we find your baseline and then find the right, if you need the other medications, cool. If you want to try plant therapies, great. I don't like taking anything at all. My own trauma as a kid, I hate taking meds. But to come out and say that, but that would also mean that these patients are healing. And like what you were saying, and they don't want that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
mean, that's certainly what it looks like. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's what it is. I'm just saying that, I mean, from the outside looking in, that it kind of makes you go, So
Especially SGBs aren't a new procedure. We've been using SGBs for over 100 years. They're used to treat hot flashes, fibromyalgia, because that's the physical symptom of PTSD. Of course.
Yeah.
And Raynaud's, a bunch of different things. They can even use it for people like having herpes flares. Like it literally helps. Yeah, it literally helps calm the nerves, because with those flares, I was reading about that too recently. I'm like, what the heck? I found a list that had like 45 different approved FDA treatments that you can get them for, which is how we get them backdoor approved. Is like, can we find something you're suffering from that works under whatever the FDA has approved SGBs for. So it's not that SGBs have to be approved on people. We already do them, and it's a thing. It's a skill set people already do in pain clinics all over America.
Mm-hmm.
It's just approving them, and this concept of this little technique, moving the needle in a little different direction. That's it. Makes no sense. It should be easy peasy to teach, educate people about this, and then we'd all be a little bit happier and in less pain. But
that would be terrible.
Right? This is the worst.
Well, no, I mean, like we were sitting upstairs earlier and I was kind of looking, through the old YouTube at, SGB research and, alternative treatments to PTSD and all that stuff. Just, random little research things right before we came on. And I mean, there's videos about the SGB from almost 10 years ago.
Yep.
Of saying this could be a new treatment for PTSD. And yeah, and here we are 10 years later, and it's still not just a blanket approval for use.
And this is the thing, like I get like mental health is something that we've been dealing with, have dealt with. Suicide is something we've dealt with in our society forever and whatnot, but there's a lot of other factors that have us all feeling in these states now. And a lot of it, I mean, is treatment after. But like, I don't know. These things could be used for so many people across so many different. I'm so sorry, my son.
No,
it's a cute little voice. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, okay. All right, let's go.
Got this on the. Oh.
Keep going.
Talk about on the recording.
Yeah.
The funding thing is a big question, right? Because it's easier on the not easier, but a little bit easier at least on the veteran side, where a lot of my first responders have had to, just have it covered, and civilians are just having to pay it, for themselves and stuff as well. So, but I think any information like that too, of what you've seen, I know you've been a huge help with your foundation on helping to support and to be able to help cover some charges for the block. So any information you have about that too, that you can share with people.
So first of all, there are many ways to make insurance companies pay for them. The good thing is people in different professions that, are taxing on the body, like, firefighters or police, first responders, military people, railroaders. I know across that board, that's so many people that are like perfect candidates, to get SGBs, because there is a lot of body physical stress in those jobs. So a lot of them already have back injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a documented back injury period, you can likely get them covered on a referral through your insurance for pain. Now, and this is where like the tricky part is.
Yeah.
Like, I know, Pain Care on Metcalf, KU Med, they have a pain clinic. There's, different types of pain clinics around that do them, and they won't use the steroid inside of the shot because they know. So I think that's the one thing you have to be weary of when you're using your insurance, that if they're going to send you to a place, that they're not going to do it. I'm fine with the steroid. It amps me up and whatnot, whatever, but you don't want to use it all the time, for one. And some people just don't respond well. It can just make you not sleep or make you, your lungs feel weird for the first week. It feels like it's like harder to breathe because that's what steroids do to you, no matter where they go inside of your body. They, cause everything to go to that one area, and it's like taken away from everywhere else in your body. So if you're going to use your insurance, you want to make sure that you're not getting steroid injected into your neck the first time, if you can avoid it, just in case, because you don't want to be amped up any more than you already were to begin with. So, you have to advocate for yourself when you're going into these places too. So, and you are the patient and you are the client too, and you get to tell them, no, I don't want something in my body. So if anyone ever feels that, well, my doctor said this, you're paying your doctor and they're getting paid by you. And asking to not have steroid in the injection isn't anything crazy. And any good provider would be okay with that.
Well, that comes along with being your own advocate,
Absolutely.
And a lot of people have issue or have a problem doing that. But like whenever I talk to younger guys and girls that are on the fire department and we're talking about injury stuff or something like that, it's one of the first things you have to be your own advocate. You know your body better. And whenever you go to these, corporate care or whatever it is that's for on the job injury, a lot of the time those doctors, and I'm not trying to say anything bad about those doctors, but they see work comp and it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's kind of a throwaway case. It's almost like they don't put a whole lot of effort. And I've had that personally happen to me. And it caused me to limp around for 7 years before I actually got my knee fixed, because the doctor that they sent me to, he had a horrible bedside manner and he just didn't want to deal with me. So you have to be your own advocate, ask for a second opinion, tell them what you want.
Absolutely. And I mean, my organization, we fund just veterans right now, but I will talk to and get on the phone or in the messenger or email anybody that needs help. If you're having an issue ever getting into a clinic or working with your insurance, I'm happy to answer questions any day, because every answer I can find for someone else is just another answer in my toolkit for everyone else that comes. The more insurance companies that we can get that certainly have approved these, the better. Like we've gotten TRICARE to do it. I know a Blue Cross Blue Shield has been covered before. It just depends. And some doctors are willing to help find, the right way to get you out on a referral, but some don't like that. I mean, I've never had a really great doctor outside of my military experience from what I've gotten through the VA yet. I'm hopeful, but I know that there are good doctors out there because I've heard it and seen it with a lot of patients I work with. They're working in their system too, and they're human, just like us. They make mistakes too, and again, you have to advocate for yourself especially with new information. The amount of times I've been told no with the whole SGB thing. I mean, they just keep adding more fuel to my damn fire, because you tell me no and I'm like, oh, here we go. Like, one more
Challenge
documented
accepted.
no.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, let's see how I'm gonna get it this time. But
So
not everyone has the gumption to do that. I worked in medical documentation and insurance for the Army, so this is my thing. So I'm happy to answer questions anytime anyone needs it. And we have I have contact through my website for people to contact me about this very thing. So
you'll have to send me all of that information so I can put it in the
yeah.
video description. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, cool. Yeah, I forgot to put that in the text whenever we were getting everything set up. I was like, what do I need? Bio and her email so I can send her a Zoom, and I didn't even think about anything else.
Hey, I forgot to send you anything. My husband was cutting a tree a couple weeks ago, and it flew up and stacked him in the face.
Ooh.
Oh.
And, cut his peeled.
Oh.
It was rather triggering, just to say, for one thing.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
And the week after, I had to take my herbal calm down tea every day after that, just because I was just like, oh, watching your husband look like that,
yeah.
God, being so thankful and lucky that he's not dead. So I had a very interesting past couple weeks.
Yeah, it sounds. How is he now?
Oh, his face is almost completely healed.
Oh,
it's just a little swollen. He got stitched up, cleaned out. I think the doctor here in our little tiny town is a veteran. He always has a little flag on his little scrubs. I assume so. And we don't look at each other in the eye. It's because he's seen my shirts when I walk in. So we were just just do the veteran thing.
Yeah.
But he did a really good job sewing his face up. So
nice.
He's better now.
Good
deal.
He's getting a big face mask after this for tree cutting.
Oh my
yeah,
God. Yeah.
That's scary.
A big old helmet. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely
not a horrible idea.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, where do you land on, because I watch a lot of different podcasts and follow a lot of different people who talk about alternative stuff for PTSD. And, I've seen people talk about, ayahuasca, DMT, ibogaine, MDMA, all of that stuff. Is that something that's in your wheelhouse that you're aware of, or?
Oh yeah. So I professionally trip sit, but mainly I have people that I've worked with, that if they're having issues, you can call me on an emergency. But there's also amazing organizations that do that for all of America now.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, I don't do a lot of that stuff right now, because I'm writing a decriminalization bill for the state of Washington. Just hopefully try and see if we can get some responsible decriminalization in the state alongside legalization. I'm working to set up funds by, first I think we're gonna try a Washington one, and I think I'm gonna be working with Heroic Hearts, maybe. I have a call with them coming up soon about creating a fund for actually doing psychedelic therapy. Whereas how we pay for SGBs, we'll be able to legally, at one point someday when we have the legalization, go ahead to pay for other people to do this, because there's tons of people out here that do this, and I work in those areas, and there's some good ones and some bad ones. And I don't want to give you an SGB personally. I don't want to do trip sitting for people. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of energy. And I mean, you're a therapist, so it's a lot of work dealing with people, and I'm really picky about who I personally am going to work with.
Yeah.
but there's a lot of people out there, and you want to make sure that we're finding good practitioners that do this, that are safe, trauma informed. And they're like, when you're going into these states, you're putting people are being put into a childlike state physically, like in their minds. It's just like working with a little kid. And so like, you want to make sure that you're having a really good person, or else it could be another traumatic event added. So I'm working to kind of be just like a reviewer of these practitioners that we're sending people to. Like, I don't want that. I don't want the money. I don't want to do, I just want to say who's good and who's bad, because I've been in this area for a long time, and I'm also, medically trained by the government. I think I'm kind of in a good place to do it, especially with our organization. And just, but I put a lot into that stuff. It works really well. It can work really well if you're getting the right therapy support, and you're doing the things that you need to do. Like, if you're not cleaning yourself out before you go do an ayahuasca journey, you're still smoking cigarettes, you're still drinking tons of coffee, you're not stopping cannabis. Like, you're not going to get what you need out of these medicines, because
so you have to put the work in still.
Exactly. Like, you can take, like, with ayahuasca, it's really iffy. Like, you have to be really cleaned out and like pure as a person, as baseline as possible going into this. And with other things like, DMT and MDMA and whatnot. I've taken MDMA recreationally, so I did not have to do any special stuff before that. But that's, man-made chemicals. But when you're going into these other plant medicines, some of them won't even work. They won't even work on your body if you didn't listen. So like, you won't even get a trip out of it. So
interesting.
Wow.
You have to be good and kind to your bodies. And if you're not, the shit's not going to work. You have to do the work and take care of yourself. But I think the beauty of like microdosing for like psilocybin is, and why that's really great therapeutically as you're doing SGBs, or wanting to start dip into other plant medicines, or doing MDMR, or going to therapy, doing equine therapy. Microdosing psilocybin is so minimal and tiny. If you're doing it in a small amount, if you're doing it in big amounts, you're not getting what you're needing out of this. You have to get below the sub-threshold level before it's triggering your nervous system, or else you're causing yourself more damage. So like, seriously, we're the country of like excess. So
Oh yeah.
I have to stress this so much.
If a little's good, a lot's better.
Yeah. And I see that. Yeah.
So I've read several little articles or reports or whatever about the microdosing and the effects that it can have on the brain, and especially on TBI patients, about actually regrowing brain matter.
Yeah. Yes. Look, the first time I did a regiment on it, I did 20 milligrams a day for 3 straight months. And I wrote everything down. I took, every 3 weeks, I took notes on how I was feeling, what I had experienced. I swear, every few weeks my brain felt better. My head felt better. Like, it's like you can feel everything straightening back out. Like, you're shuffling and cleaning out your brain, dusting all the cobwebs out. Like, it feels better. I ever since then, I smoke weed because I live in Washington State. Of course, you have to, or else you can't live here.
Because I can.
Yeah. But at this point, I'm no longer alcohol dependent. Like, and there was a point I had to get past, and I finally got past that. I don't experience depression. if I ever feel slightly blue, which, I mean, since I did that round, I've had 4 miscarriages and some SGBs. I've done some intermittent microdosing once every now and then, like, before I do an interview, that day I'm going to drink in my coffee, I'm going to sprinkle some mushrooms in there, just so I'm clear-headed because I have ADHD. And I'm like, I want something to help me. But other than that, I don't take anything. And I don't suffer from depression anymore. I can feel when my body's starting to light back up again. I can feel when my fight or flight response is on. I can feel when I need another SGB. Like, but depression, no. I don't want to die. I want to live. I want to live so hard. And I'm happy. Like, I'm genuinely happy. And like I said, I had 4 miscarriages since I did that round. And that war was hard. PTSD after I had my baby was that much harder. But going through that with my body was intense. I could not have even tried doing that had it not been for these therapies. And I mean, my only other option would have been medications. I mean, I get physical pain. And when you're triggered, and that stuff triggers your body hormonally and all that shit. But I mean, everyone should have access to be able to do this. It's not fair because it was safe enough for a breastfeeding mother to try this and feel safe doing it. And I mean, I didn't want to take anything at all. I was like so scared. I don't want to hurt my kid. I didn't even take Tylenol unless I have a fever. Like, I'm not taking it if I don't have to. And I feel so normal now. And it's all because of these alternative therapies I was able to get, that I was able to demand and do despite the legality issues, unfortunately. But I'm gonna try and change that. So
that is fantastic.
Yeah, that's an incredible testimony.
Yeah.
And it's those kind of shifts and changes that are going to help to make it safer too, so that people aren't just like going to somebody's backyard trip, like that's the scary part.
That's don't
right. And so that people can have it like educated and in a safe way that it is actually then truly effective, in a fuller way too, where it's not just like, I'm completely jacked and feel like shit, so I'm going to go do this. But to have somebody like guiding you of like, no, here's how you prepare for it. Here's how it's going to be most effective. Here's how it's safest. Here's what it's doing. That's really important.
The other thing is like, well, when people are using plant medicine, for one, if they're taking it in a non-mental health daily amount usage, they're putting their bodies, like they're amping their bodies up too. Because while you're taking the plant medicine in those larger amounts, you're putting your nervous system out there and it's blowing itself open. And it opens everything up inside of you. So you're burning so much energy. Like, you literally have to feed your body the vitamins, minerals, and food, because that's kind of how we are when we have PTSD. We're burning energy. So then you go into doing plant therapy, you already have PTSD. You're already burning more energy than, the average person, or, with anxiety disorders. And then you use these medicines, you have to ensure that you are taking care of your body, you're getting the right nutrition, and it's important. And it's great that like the answer to everything is to take care of yourself.
Right.
And mother yourself, parent yourself. What would you do if you were your kid?
Yeah.
Well, and
I love that it keeps coming back to that.
Yeah. And it's a huge point of, having the right diet, the right exercise program. All of that stuff is hugely important with your mental health, just as a baseline. And I've seen watched so many stories of guys and that are just, yeah, I was doing this and doing that and I was all jacked up, and then I met this person and they changed my diet and now I feel great. And it's like, yeah, sometimes that's all it is. You are what you eat, literally.
Yeah. Nutrition is vital. Like if I want to have a good day, I need to make sure that I am getting all the energy that I need to have that good day. Like you can't run on an empty tank.
Yeah. Can't just eat candy corn, even if it's pumpkin candy corn.
That's true. I mean, just like one day you
Yeah,
can eat
just
it all.
with peanuts.
Yeah.
If
With
you add it
peanuts,
with
though.
peanuts, then it makes it okay.
Then it's like a meal.
Yeah. It's all balance.
It's that 3 o'clock snack, that in between.
Yeah.
To get you over, hold you over.
Yeah. It's the post workout.
Yeah. So, Lauren, I'm curious if I know I'm kind of going back probably a little bit of stuff that we've already covered, but to go back in time a little bit of that time, like when you got out of the Army, what you were experiencing, how you got access, like first learned about the SGB, got access to that, and then your involvement and kind of education with plant medicines and psychedelics, stuff like that.
Yeah. So I had gotten out of the Army and then immediately found out I was pregnant. So there went all my fun. Couldn't do anything cool after that. But I've noticed this just more with female veterans. Like I just wanted to get away from all of them, all of it. I didn't want to see any of it. I literally like boxed my own Army stuff up, everything. It's all gone. I wanted, like, I'm a civilian now, right? Like, except I'm not. I'm never, ever, ever just going to be a regular civilian. I joined the Army at 17 years old. My entire adult life has been military.
Yeah.
Why on God's green earth do we think that we can separate ourselves from ourselves?
Yeah.
So I tried to do other stuff. I mean, we did a van. We did like van life, traveling around. Happened to move back down to Los Angeles I wanted to have my son in the same area I was from. So we went to have him down south. And at first, I mean, like, first of all, I broke my wrist while I was pregnant, which definitely triggered the shit out of me. I had reconstructive surgery while I was pregnant, a month before I gave birth.
Wow.
So then I also had to deal with taking pain medication and breaking stuff in half in tiny amounts, mixing it with CBD, and being okay with that while my entire wrist was like reforming itself back.
Goodness.
So that definitely put me in a trigger space.
Yeah.
But after I had him, and I know this is weird, so sorry, but I dried and encapsulated my placenta.
Yeah.
The best medication for postpartum. If I had had a bigger placenta, seriously, holy shit. The one day that I forgot it in the first month, I passed out.
Really?
Just like, it gives you that much energy, one little capsule of your own body. But I mean, mammals generally in the wild eat their placentas for a reason. So it's not far off. We did it in a civilized manner. It was properly done in a kitchen, made just for this. So,
I've had a family member do the same. Yeah, I've heard other people too. So
I highly recommend it if you can afford it. Holy crap, definitely the best. But once that I was out of that, then I was having a hard time. I got to under 100 pounds. I get like stress-induced anorexia. I can't eat. It's not like I have like a body image issue. I just cannot eat food. The nerves in my mouth like become just very, very averted to food or eating or anything. And I can just live off coffee. Of course, that's what all good soldiers and first responders do, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, so I definitely started going into getting stuck into my trigger space. I was having constant intrusive thoughts. And I'm like, normally, like, if I had never had PTSD before, I would have thought, holy shit, this is postpartum. But I had had some baby blue period time. Like, depression's different than anxiety. Like, I didn't want to kill myself because I was sad and depressed. I wanted to kill myself because, like, it hurt. It physically hurts. Like, it hurts inside of my body. I just like the confusion, the frustration, all this ampness up in your body. It hurts. So anxiety hurts. And at the level I was feeling it, it was just constant. And I had an appointment with my primary care provider. I made an appointment with them. And I had just seen a 16, I had been microdosing. So that was my saving grace. My husband was like, screw that. He's like, he brought mushrooms home. He's like, honey, just try it on Sundays when I'm home from work. Just do it. I had already done and used mushrooms many times before. I'd grown them before, but I had never used them in this capacity. So I started microdosing on Sundays, just so I could breathe. And I would feel great. It was a great day. I could walk outside. I wasn't feeling agoraphobic. Then I saw the 60-minute interview. And as soon as you hear someone say, yeah, it just turned your fight or flight response off. I mean, anyone with PTSD is like, sign me up.
Yeah.
Hi. What the fuck? Why didn't we get this to begin with? Like, that's all we ever wanted. And I swear I would say that to my providers all the time. I'm like, can we just like turn off my fight or flight response? Because if we do that, I don't need to come here.
Yeah.
And so I went in and I asked, and the video was from Long Beach. So I happened to be registered and going to the Long Beach VA at that same time. And I would say, when like you are meant to be in spaces, I truly believe I was meant to be in the spaces, and I was meant to have everything happen the way it did, because there's no other reason I should have been there. You know, like, there's no other way I would have been there. You know, the birth of my son brought me there. And the lady said, no, we can't give that to you. That's like on the news. Like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, it's here at the Long Beach VA, they're giving them, and I want it. And like, it's a non-toxic thing. Like, find the people that did it. And like, nothing. I went to the emergency mental health department, went to the PTSD department, called them so much that the Long Beach VA took their PTSD number down off their website. And I don't care if any of them ever say it didn't happen. Bullshit. I kept calling and calling and calling, and they took their number down. It may be back up, but for a while it was gone. And I'm pretty damn sure I'm the reason why. And then they finally found the number, and I found the research department. And at one time I had sat inside of the emergency mental health like clinic ward area, and they made me submit, which was like the scariest thing. And I have generational trauma with being ripped from family members. And in my life and in my mother's life. And that really came out during that period. I was so scared. Like, I thought if I do this, they're going to take my kid from me, or, you know, whatever. So I went there with the expectation that these people may like arrest me or put me in, because like that's your thought in your head too, right?
Yeah.
You've seen all these
They're going to commit
stories.
me, or
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
that also shows how desperate you were to feel better.
exactly. That's what I wanted to say. Like, I was that desperate. I was
Yeah.
willing to submit myself to the people I was like the most afraid of. And in the end, I ended up getting to the research department. They signed me up. And then I shit you not, this is crazy. They scheduled me. I ended up getting scheduled to have my first SGB done on the 10-year anniversary of when I lost my guys in Iraq.
Oh,
that
wow.
happened to be the day that they had open that they could slide me in.
Good grief.
Oh.
Like when I say like things just like line up, like
yeah, the way they lined up. Yeah.
I'm like, no way.
That's
like this was
insane.
meant for me.
Yeah.
And then I went in, they let me bring my son. I was holding him before I went in, and then I handed him to my aunt on the day that I get the shot. I go in and, well, first of all, they didn't have any breastfeeding patients. So I'm like one of the first or only documented ones on this that publicly speaks about that. I want to claim that. I'm not humble about it. Because you go in there and there's no women, right? And like I'm the only me, and they're like, "Are you someone's kid?" And I'm like,
who are you here with, lady?
I know, like what is this person here doing? Crazy person. So they I went back into the room, and they they put you down, and then they put the needle in, and then as soon as they hit it, I was in so much pain. I was such in a high triggered space. Couldn't eat, couldn't, like everything hurt. I was limping. My knee was hurting so bad. It felt like I had a rubber band wrapped around my knee all the time. As soon as they inject, all the pain in my body gone. My body just like shut everything down. Because SGBs help with circulation, and that's why it's not that it's magic. Like this can literally all be explained perfectly scientifically. It sounds like magical when I say it, but the pain went away. I could see better. The room got brighter. The weight that was on me was gone. I like freaked out. I like started moving around, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? They had to hold me down because just how heavy my nervous system was amped at that time to come down from that high of a space. And immediately I had a like scrolling marquee of I want to kill myself in my head. Like it's just something I live with all the time, and I just like accepted it as this marquee that just lived in my brain. Gone. I couldn't even I could say the words like suicide clearly if I had to say them, but I couldn't like think them. Like I couldn't think of ending it. I could not say I want to kill myself in my brain, and that's all I had been thinking all the time. And all of a sudden it's gone. Like, so when that's gone all of a sudden, and like it doesn't matter if you have a needle in your neck, like that's intense. You're gonna be like, ah! So then I went out and I held my son, and I mean, maybe when I had him initially, maybe it had felt this way, but to hold my kid without fear, that intense. Because in those, almost 6, 7 months or 8 months, however old he was at the time, I mean, I was just constantly scared. I'm a medic. I've seen lots of trauma. So when I have a trigger or when I have an intrusive thought, it isn't made up shit. It's not something I saw from Grey's Anatomy. It's like real life. I have if I have a flash and I have intrusive thoughts, they're pulled from real things I've experienced and seen in life. And all of that was gone. And I don't know. I know I'm going off on about this, but I also have a lifelong phobia of bugs. And the next day I was able to walk outside being like super agoraphobic, didn't even like want to walk outside of my front door. Walking around my neighborhood, green beetles love me because they love my hair. I don't know, they think it's a nest or something. So I swear, if there is a green beetle or a June bug, it is gonna come and land in my hair, and I would freak out, just like normal everyday thing. When it, summertime just happens. It's my expectation. And one thing I wanted, and I kept telling myself, I was like, if these shots really worked, I should be able to hold bugs for my kid, because I don't want him to see me scared of bugs. Because I think the fears we pass on to our children are very, those will change their development for the rest of their lives. And a green beetle came right in front of us, and I stopped the stroller. I walked over, and it landed in my hands. Because like they're really nice little things. Like, they're not gonna hurt you, I guess now. And I'm sitting there holding a green beetle for my kid in my hands. And that was it. And I mean, like, yeah, like now I can still like feel the fear of bugs, but I'm not terrified of them, and I can control it and calm it down. And having a lifelong phobia of bugs is completely gone. I mean, I had to be intentional about it though.
Right.
And think about it and work on it. So you have to be very introspective to use these tools.
Yeah.
But I mean, so that all, sorry, I went on a tangent on that.
No, it was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic, because it's an incredible testimony. And I think, and then sharing like the moment, so not just how it impacts you, but then how it impacts your relationships when you're able to be in that state. And so then what it's like to hold your son like that, or hold a bug, or, I mean, that's incredible.
It is like the best part. I love it when parents get these shots, or like, because like, yes, you have your spouse, and like they're gonna see it immediately. They're gonna know. Like your partner knows, and they can see it all. But when it's your kid, it's not just that they're seeing you, it's that you also know that they're picking up your mannerisms, your anger affects them, your anxiety affects them. And knowing now that I'm not going to be passing that to my little dude, or in that, he's gets to be happier for it. And hearing that from like other veterans, like, and kids' testimonies, and hearing what the kids have said to their parents after this. I mean, it's just, that's why I'm fighting, because there's parents that are no longer here today. I mean, one of the most toughest things I ever experienced in the military was actually just reading. I did med boards for the state of Washington, and I did one I was like putting the packet together on a redacted statement for somebody that had committed suicide, like in front of their kid. And I didn't understand how much that impacted me till later on in my life. And then now that's not the only person like that. And it's not that these people really want to die. It's that they're in pain, and that pain is going to be transferred on to their children. And that's not fair, because they did not sign up for this trauma. We did. And aside from like people just dying from pain, they're succumbing to pain, just the effects that it has on so many people in America outside of that, our family and our friends and our children. I can't not be an activist for this. There's no way. I know too much.
Yeah, I think I saw a study one time, and it might have been that suicide prevention thing that we went to, that just one suicide it can quickly get into the triple digits of people of, to the first order, second order, third order, or whatever, of people that knew that person or knew somebody that knew that person. And, it just spirals. It's ripples on a pond.
Absolutely.
And, you start talking about generational, the kids and the kids of, friends and family and stuff. I mean, it's a wide reaching thing that people, we need to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we don't have to suffer, why? Like, why?
Yeah.
Right.
And the thing is, it's not, I know, and I know, like, other doctors that do this, like, they'll just be grumpy at me for saying this, but I don't think they cost what they're charging for them at all. It's horseshit. Absolute horseshit. They shouldn't cost over $500, because if they do it just with steroid, it's under $500 in lots of places. But the accessibility, the stuff is cheap. Like, if we go look up, a vial of ropivacaine, and the needle you're using, and the prep or whatever, there's not a huge cost to this. It's the extra cost in SGBs is definitely paying for somebody's skill set that they gatekeep and don't share with everybody else. But it's rather low. And having done medical supply and handled the catalogs for Afghanistan, and doing it here at home, I worked on medical documentation systems for the military as well as a contractor. So the supply chain within the medical system, like, I know what stuff costs. It doesn't cost that much. And if we're really out here trying to save people's lives, why aren't we trying to make it cost effective?
Yeah. Well, and I think there's so many things when you guys were talking about this and with suicide. I think when suicide is such a massive topic, it's like we've got to talk about all of the protective factors. And if there's all of these things that exist that people are not getting access to that could potentially help keep people alive, like, why are we not talking about that more? Like, there's so much more than what we do talk about. Like, if you just go to any conventional suicide prevention, awareness, whatever talk, right? It's like the typical stuff. It's the classic stuff about mental health and resources and all of that, but it's not all of the things that could potentially help. And it's so broad. And that's what I think. It's like, you've got to, like, we need to talk about this stuff more, and people who've gotten them need to talk about it more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, like, it's not just like the researchers, they've done the work that we needed them to do. They put the data out there. They've put their life's work into this shit. Like, I'm so thankful for everything that they have done. But it's the anecdotal evidence from patients speaking out, and, like, it's the demand. We have to create the demand, because they're not going to give them to us. And people that say they're going to help us get them aren't even help. They write bills, and then they go play partisan politics with each other. And you're like, are you serious? I thought we were here to, like, end suicide, or and help the 22, and then said it's a buzzword that helps people, like, make money. And I don't know, I get hot on this. It pisses me off, because there's no reason we shouldn't have access. We literally have the facilities to do it. We have the know-how. We can educate. We can train. We can do all of this. Like, I'm literally hoping I can get a grant from the VA next year, so that I can do my own grouping of basically mimicking and showing the VA what right looks like. Like, I'll train people to show you guys how to do it. I'll bring in doctors. Who do we need? I'm a medic. All of my people are medical people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at some point, it's like, how much proof do you people need?
Yeah.
because
there's so much now. How much more?
Yeah.
And how many more people are we going to keep losing or
Right.
allow to continue be suffering?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for the SGB, and especially for maybe people who are still active duty, or first responders who are working, and because there's so much fear about so many of the other things, right? Like, well, I can't do this because of drug testing and all of that, right? But like the SGB is something that people can do, and that active duty military can get and then go back out, and first responders can get. And I know so many of my clients who have gotten the block who are like, well, is it going to make me forget stuff, or am I not going to be able to do my job or whatever? And then they're like, wow, I actually can just live. Like, I just feel like me again. And it doesn't keep me from doing my job. Like, my hypervigilance isn't the thing that's making me do my job well, that like I can actually have a life outside of it, and I still am a good cop, or I'm still a good fireman. But it's just all of the stress and the nervous system activation isn't killing me.
Yeah.
Isn't taking me down, isn't making me want to drink at night.
Well, that's where the awareness part of it, comes in, of educating people on what it actually is, what it does, and why we should be demanding it.
Yeah.
And I say demanding because that's the point that we're at.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's what I say is I demand it. Like, I'm not asking.
Yeah.
This is my chosen therapy. So the therapy I consent to. I mean, if you're paying for insurance, what are you paying for your insurance for? To cover medical costs. This is already an approved treatment that's out there. It's just not approved for PTSD.
Right.
Yeah.
It's semantics.
Yeah.
It's semantics.
Yeah. Which is, like I said earlier, it's mind-boggling because the proof is out there. I mean, you've got case study after case study after case study. We can, I'm not going to jump on the whole COVID thing.
I think that my mom sent me there's a Louisiana politician who is, I think he's maybe trying to get it available in Louisiana. I'm not sure if it's nationwide or just Louisiana. I'm gonna check in, but so there's somebody trying to get it out. So I'm gonna be having our organization reach out and contact them too, because like anybody doing this, like by our powers combined, like we all got to get loud together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is for so many people.
Yeah.
So what is your organization, and what do you guys do, and how can people get a hold of you and all that good stuff?
And how can people support you?
Yeah.
Because I think that's important. How can you keep doing what you're doing? How can we help?
So our organization is Hippie and a Veterans Foundation. We when we have the funds, we fund SGBs. I've also funded some somatic therapists that some patients needed. I mean, clearly I'd like to be able to do more, but I mean, we are little and modest. And a lot of what we do is education. I mean, sharing information on our social media pages. But my website, I've been working on that baby for years. But what it has on there is an informational links tab. And in there, there's just some hot articles, data, or research studies on a few different therapy types. That for me, when I needed to go down the rabbit hole, if somebody could have, guided me towards the right rabbit hole, I'm trying to help people guide themselves down into a different rabbit hole. So I have a few different articles for psilocybin, SGBs, acupressure, because acupressure ear seeds, freaking love those things. And they're really great for chronic pain too, and PTSD. VA did tons of research on those. I send out care packages when we're able to have the funds to do so, which generally have CBD gummies in them, acupressure ear seeds, CBD rubs, biofreeze and whatnot, because I mean, arnica itself is anti-inflammatory, and it can do a lot of wonders for your neck area. And if you can actually relieve the tension in your neck, it can actually do wonders, because it's these nerves that are bundling up here when you're getting stressed out. So if you can kind of get your shoulder to relax, it can go a long way. So I put some, pain management stuff in there. We're going to be putting like coloring books and stuff soon in some of the packages. But I like being able to, and I make sleep tea with a skullcap and valerian root that we give out to people because it's really great to help people come off of sleeping medications. I used to take Ambien. I overdosed on Ambien, and I'm not a big fan. I'm a fan of tea that no one can overdose on. So I like giving people something tangible.
Yeah.
Like I can't just say, trust me. Like I need to I need to earn your trust.
Yeah.
And I think like giving gifts is something that we've all done across all of our cultures. It's like something that we do. It builds community. It brings connection, and there's so many people that are disconnected. So just even getting an item, something from someone that really does care, I think can go a long way.
Yeah.
And like them wanting to invest in themselves, like I'm investing in you. Now let's start you investing in you.
Yeah, that trust
So we
factor.
do that. Yeah.
That trust factor, especially in those cultures, the military, first responders, and all that stuff. Trust, it plays such a huge factor in everything we do. So, and
Absolutely.
if you don't have that, then you're already behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like if we can't trust you, we're not going to come to you. Like that's why we don't like going to VA therapy. We don't trust them because they are writing it in our records, which are legal documents. So it's scary for us. But no, trust is such a big thing, and you have to build that trust, and you should never just like walk in expecting you have the trust.
Yeah.
So I like, we haven't been able to give them out most of the summer because I mean it costs money to ship everything. So we got low this summer, but I'm hoping over the winter we'll be able to do some more fundraising. I do guest speaking. I was like the suicide prevention guest speaker for the National Guard last year.
Nice.
So I think we're one of the only nonprofit organizations that talks about psychedelics that's approved to go on to bases in the military. So
that's impressive.
Yeah, no one else tried that because they're all like trying to catch people on the outside, and I'm like, let's go upstream. So
I like it.
And I used to work here in Washington, so my network's here. So it was just like I worked with people and gotten SGBs for people on base, and people working in suicide prevention or responses and stuff that are like in on base support services and stuff. That's where I used to work. So I mean, it's easy for me to get in there. So I just kind of used the network I had of women that really wanted to fellow veterans to support me. So they helped me.
Nice.
I did not do it myself. It was all my secret buddies in the back. But yeah.
And then how do you receive donations too? So I know when you do fundraising, but if somebody wants to just like donate.
Oh yeah. Well, you can donate I have my Venmo set up through our 501c3 too, just because that's simple and easy for some people. So that's at Hippie and a Veteran. And then our website also has a direct link. So you can direct donate through that link. It's a link through our bank. We did the whole like federal background check, 501c3 thing, and there's so much stuff you have to do to get approved. But I finally got the link. It works kind of well on our website. Sometimes it like freezes out, and I'm trying to work on that with the coding, but I'm only one person sometimes. So we have the direct link on there to donate. But yeah, and we sell t-shirts on Etsy too.
Yes,
that
merchandise.
Right there. Hey, and hoodies.
Wasn't I supposed to get one of those?
I know. I do owe him a t-shirt and a hoodie. Sorry.
Oh yeah, we need to get you one. And Yeah, and we take the proceeds from there. So whatever the proceeds are, I say that we give 20% from the shirts, but I generally give over 50% because I'm like scared I'm gonna mess up and like someone's gonna come after me and say, you didn't do it. So I'm like, ha,
One of
so
those
20%, they're doing 50%.
one of those 87,000 new IRS agents.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like someone's gonna come after me. Yeah, I will say, and I just want to forewarn people, and I'm trying not to say this out loud in many spaces, but I'm just going to say it right now. If you go and you look up hippie and a veteran and you see something that says hippieveteranclothing.com, that's not us. They are people trying to make money off of our image. They literally mimicked our likeness and our foundation and everything. And so I'm getting a lawyer to address that. But if you Google us, just be careful because those people may pop up. But we are hippie and a veteran, not hippie veteran. That's bad grammar.
Right.
They're like trying to be the wish version of us.
Yeah.
You're the second, not the second, what I've seen that on several other, again, the Jeep thing, but I follow Matt's Off-Road Recovery, and he just had to put out a video doing the same thing of, hey, there are people that are scamming. And then Sean Rogers from the F&G Academy, I follow him too, and he had to put out a video, the same thing, say, hey, we're not contacting you through the comments. You didn't win some prize. If you won something, we're going to tell you in the video that you won something.
Right. There's just people out here trying to make money off of people and mess with people, and it's so damn rude.
Yeah.
It's disappointing.
It is disappointing.
Yeah.
And why do you have to mimic us so bad? I get it, and then it's kind of funny, and then I'm like, you could have done a better job, because our organization is ran by half Indigenous queer women. So that's a big deal. We're a bunch of Native women, and you came up and my husband, and I have another guy on the board too. And there's some other people too, but the oddity of stealing our likeness of an organization, we're some of the most marginalized people in the world. Why are you coming after us?
Yeah.
And I don't make money. I wish I made money, but I don't.
Yeah.
And that's the other frustrating thing is are these people making money off of us?
Right.
Thinking, people thinking that they're giving to something that's a part of us.
Right.
And they're pretending they're taking donations now too. And
yikes.
I'm I thought just sending a cease and desist letter, but then I'm we're a giant community, and I want to know how much money have these people been making off of these sales that, hey, well, our money goes to medical bills, and I have some medical bills for veterans that I would like to pay for. So if they're making money off of us, I almost kind of want a lawyer just to, might as well throw it over here.
Right. Right.
Absolutely.
Seriously.
I got some medical bills to pay, and I got some patients that could really use it. So no, it's just frustrating. I wish people weren't so shitty out there on the internet.
Seriously. Yeah. That's awful. Yeah. Because people could very well be intending to give it to you, and it's going to whatever scammer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had the money to set up shop and stuff. And it just makes me mad. I was going through a lot of stuff, and I couldn't keep eyes on everything. So just hit me while I'm down.
Right.
Yeah.
That's mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what they do.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have integrity. So I'm expecting them to play by a different set of rules.
Yeah.
But
criminals don't follow the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll make sure you put the right link, the correct link in the.
Yeah. Whenever I order my own sweatshirt, because.
Oh no, no. I mean, in the comments, make sure people are going to the correct link.
Oh.
Not when I will order yours.
Yeah. Okay. I'll tell you.
I
will tell you.
I'll be getting new hoodies soon. It's also my fault because I'm out. Because every time I get stuff, we sell out.
Nice.
No,
it's
it's
a good
not.
problem.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
it's a
your
good
fault
problem.
though. She was supposed to
No.
order that when she ordered her shirt, and it
Oh,
somehow,
ooh.
yeah,
Yeah.
you didn't drop the ball, Lauren.
No,
Somebody else dropped the ball.
I know, because the truth was probably like, I want to like, could I get both, or could I get myself a t-shirt and a sweatshirt and then get you one later? It's kind of where
Yeah.
I was at. I was like, wait, I can't do them all right now, but
Yeah,
it was
and
purely
no,
selfish.
What
Like,
size
I'll
are
own
you?
it.
I'll make sure that I have a size set. I have your size set aside.
There you go.
oh, probably extra large.
All right. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got you.
So
Yeah.
and I will
let me know and I will get it.
and I will tell you exactly what I will do whenever she sends me the info, so I can put it in the thing. I copy and paste it. So I take all of
There you go.
my
Yeah.
misspelling and all of that stuff completely out. So I just copy and paste. It's like, this is what you sent me. That's what's going up.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll make sure it's the right one.
Fantastic. I'm getting a
Cool.
sweatshirt out of the deal. It's awesome.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to talk about this stuff and get it out there, because the more people hear about it, the better. Like, we need to create the demand.
Yeah.
That's why I'm having veterans. I have a little copy thing for them to send to their providers in the request for these.
Oh, nice.
And that's how lots of people get them approved. That's how I get them approved. So I just put the template out for everyone to use. The more people keep asking, the more demand we create. They're going to have to do something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lauren,
I would pay for that template. I pay as a clinician. I pay for templates. Like, when there's great clinicians out there that have created great templates, and that's how, like, with some of the stuff that I have to send, especially on the veteran side, TRICARE, all of that. So I would be more than willing to pay for the template to continue to help. But seriously, you have been priceless, and being on the receiving end, when I went in to meet with the doctor that most of my clients go to, just because I was like, all right, I need to know more. I need to understand more. I want to meet the person, and then I walk out with a scheduled appointment to get my own block. And I have had 2 cents, and it's remarkable. And to see so many people kind of come back to life from it too. And even I told you this, I was at a Pilates class and I ran into a veteran spouse whose husband, she's like, I got my husband back because of the block. Like, it is the only thing that has given us life again. She's like, that's when I had my husband. And so, but I am seriously so grateful, because you've been so responsive to me and so many of my clients when I give out your information, your name and number, and for them to be able to call and ask questions and stuff. And it's priceless to have a community like that. So I'm just really grateful for you. I really appreciate you and admire you.
Well, thank you. I mean, you give me validity. Like, you make me feel like, I mean, I was in the medical field for 14 years and I've been out, and I'm out here being a crazy person, no, we're doing it wrong. We're doing it wrong. And I get how other medical people, having been there, can look at me and be like, what is wrong with this crazy person? But instead, you made me feel like you heard me. And I'm so thankful that you did. So, because I think this is such a mutually beneficial relationship that we have. Just the fact that there's a therapist that wants to talk to me about this stuff, and not because she wants to shrink me, but because she wants to come to me as a peer in this world, helping people.
Yeah.
So you have been vital to when I'm really hard to keep motivated sometimes. But the fact that there's clinicians that trust me and believe in what I'm doing too, and they see it. And now that you've actually had 1 or 2, I mean, thank you, because you joined on board with me.
Thank you. Oh, we lost you.
Well,
oh,
you still
maybe?
there?
There you are.
Yeah.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm thankful. So thank you.
And
thank you for having me here on the podcast. All of this is great. The amount of who's going to hear about this? who's, someone needing this is going to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for doing it. I really appreciate it. And yeah, for introducing her to the SGB. I mean, I think it's been fantastic for you and for us.
Yeah.
I really do. It's just, yeah, I thank you. I appreciate it. So,
No, I love
so,
it.
yeah,
You guys definitely have to get out here sometime.
For sure.
So we can
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
absolutely. I've always wanted to
Thank
visit
you.
Washington. So
You should. We have extra room for you to stay. Like, seriously, you guys are welcome.
Thank you.
appreciate it.
It'd be like,
Yeah.
full circle.
Yeah. For
We've
real.
had
Yes.
SGBs now. Come on out to the weed land.
There you go.
I just want a sweatshirt. That's it.
Like,
I got
go home
you.
with the sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you. Don't worry.
Oh my goodness. Well, Lauren, we typically do little final thoughts at the end of the podcast. So I'm going to let Rachel go first, then you, then me, and we'll end the recording. And if we got anything else to talk about, we can do that. So Rachel, final thoughts.
Goodness. The only thing, like the thing that just comes up for me right now is just, I know it can sound so cliche and cheesy to say, like, don't give up hope, especially when you absolutely feel like giving up hope. And you feel like there's nothing else that can help. And I just want people to like keep trying and to keep reaching out and to consider, talking to other people and finding out about alternative treatments and because there's just so much out there. And it breaks my heart to see, and I've lost people in my personal life and professional life to suicide. And I never want to live through it again. And I don't want people to give up hope. And so just like, please keep looking because there's stuff out there. Like, don't end at one dead end. Like, there's usually something around the corner. So,
Lauren.
Well, I love everything Rachel just said. There are so many other alternative therapies out there that so many people don't have access to. And if you feel like all hope to reaching them and accessing them is just impossible, it's not. Like, if you're having a problem, reach out to me through any of our pages, our website. I'll help you finagle the system. And sometimes it can take months. I will help take months. I will help do that. I just want to make sure we all get access and there's no reason not to. And we all deserve, we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I think that healing is a part of that. And
100%.
Yeah.
How can you be happy if we're not healed? Like, that's a healing. It's a part of this. And we should all have the right to that and the right to stay for alternative options, especially if the latter isn't that safe.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I believe that we're going to get access. And I think we're going to get access to a lot of different things here on the horizon. And even now, there's a lot of great places that are offering, and there's availabilities in different types of therapies all over the nation. And if you're lost or you want to get pointed in the right direction, there's always someone out here ready to help.
Absolutely.
Well said.
Yep. So, and then like we end every episode, look, if you are struggling, it's kind of a echo of what Lauren and Rachel have just said. If you're struggling, reach out. There are resources out there. There are ways to get help, and don't pigeonhole yourself into, traditional medicine or whatever. Keep searching, because you never know what stone you're going to turn over that's going to be the right thing for you. We're all different. Everybody's a special snowflake. And, one treatment modality it's not going to work for everybody. So it might take you this thing or that thing or the other thing. The important part is to keep trying, to keep moving forward, keep putting the effort in, and eventually you will get there. And on the other side of that, if you know somebody that is struggling, reach out to them. Let them know what the resources are. Let them know that you care. So with that said, everybody, thanks for stopping by, and thanks to Lauren.
Thank you, Lauren.
Great job. Fantastic. And
Thanks for having me.
check out her website, and we'll put all the links in the description and all that stuff. Yeah, great episode. Appreciate it. And you guys take care.
Bye.